Langley. I am here with my friend Ben Frederiksen.
Hey everyone.
And this is just a video, a short little video, a little podcast for you to get to know Ben a little bit more. As some of you are aware, we are looking to plant our fourth campus of our church, and which is to merge with a church called Jericho Ridge Community Church. And this will be happening sometime this year, we hope. And so we are putting Ben's name forward as a recommendation to our church family to potentially be the person leading this church. And so we wanted you to get to know him a bit more. So, Ben.
Yes, Matthew.
Question number one.
Okay.
You have a difficult last name. Tell everyone how you spell your last name.
Okay. Thank you for starting off with a softball question for me, Matthew. But I recognize for a lot of people, this is a tough question. It's been misspelled multiple ways. So it's a Danish last name. My great-great-great-grandfather was Danish. Frederiksen. But it's spelled Frederiksen.
So the big thing is there's no C in your name.
There's no C, and it's an S-E-N, not an O-N.
Not an O.
That's right. That's how you know it's Danish.
And Ben, do you find that people on our own staff team have been able to figure that one out yet?
You know, Matthew, I think you might be the only person who actually knows how to spell my name correctly.
Yes!
Yeah.
I do too.
Darcy knows. Yeah. Thanks,
Darcy knows how. That's good.
All right.
That's good.
There might be a few people.
Because I think that's very important as we establish who you are, is to know your name.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Ben, tell us about your family.
Sure. Yeah. I thought maybe you were gonna ask me to spell my first name. I can spell that too, but no, my family. So I'm married to Lillian.
Yes.
You have known Lillian. You and Tanya, I should say, have known Lillian way longer than I have, and we're kind of part of getting us together, so that's pretty cool, pretty exciting. Right. So yeah, Lillian and I have been married almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years this summer, and we have 3 kids: Winter, Ren, and Poppy.
And Winter has just started school.
That's right. Winter is in kindergarten. She's in kindergarten at our local elementary school here, James Kennedy Elementary, where North Langley Church started, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And Ren is in preschool, and Poppy is at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben, you have a very interesting story in terms of your upbringing, where you grew up, the work your parents did. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your early life?
Sure. Yeah. So it's funny, growing up, you don't think of it as interesting or different. And then you realize later, oh, this is kind of different from lots of people. So I spent the first couple of years of my life in Afghanistan, which is where my parents met. They were both medical missionaries. They met there. We had to leave there very suddenly and ended up moving to Tanzania in East Africa and spent kind of my whole childhood up to grade 8 in Tanzania.
Yeah. And really quick, just to interrupt you, but to go back, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but did you guys have to leave because of the Soviet war with Afghanistan?
We could go down a deep rabbit hole here, Matthew, on Soviet history and Afghan history.
Okay.
The short answer is my parents left because of the Soviet invasion, and then I was born in the States, actually, in New Mexico. And then they went back to Afghanistan, and it was under communist rule. But then my dad was actually kicked out by the Afghan communist government and was forced to leave the country, and so we all left.
Whoa. So, and then you guys went back to the States.
Yeah, we were kind of not homeless, but we weren't sort of rooted anywhere for a while, and then we moved to Tanzania.
And then to Tanzania.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. And then you were in Tanzania grade 1?
Yeah, kindergarten through grade 8.
Kindergarten to grade 8.
Kindergarten through grade 8 there. Yeah, went to an international school in the town of Moshi, which is right at the foot of Kilimanjaro. So biggest mountain, tallest mountain in Africa.
Have you hiked it?
I did get to hike it. Not as a kid, not all the way to the top as a kid, but later in life, I went back as a college student and hiked it with my brother Josh. So that was pretty exciting.
Is it hard?
Yeah. It's hard in the sense that the altitude gets you, because you're up over 5,000 meters. But it's not a technical climb. It's just, it's walking, it's hiking.
Okay.
Yeah, not climbing, ice climbing.
Yes. Sounds like my kind of hike.
I think you could.
Flat.
It's not flat, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then 13, you moved to the States.
Yeah, we moved back to the States, which is where my dad is from. Eventually settled in New Mexico. So that's what I kind of call home still, New Mexico. It's where my mom still lives, and one of my brothers went to high school there, and attended a Christian high school, and that high school was affiliated with the same denomination as Calvin College in Michigan. So that's how I ended up in Michigan for university.
Yes.
I studied Spanish because I thought like that's kind of fun because it got me traveling again, and I got to go study in Spain and then in Honduras as part of my degree, which was a lot of fun.
Can I just say, I knew Ben for a number of years, and him having a Spanish major was not something I found out till like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh,
Had no
okay.
idea.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
I thought you
Spanish
just
major.
learned Spanish when you were in Honduras or in Peru.
No, I did as my major. So
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, Spain and Honduras, which I loved. I loved those experiences of being in other countries and like
Yeah.
getting to know people there, getting to eat amazing food, and
Love it.
yeah.
How many languages do you speak? How many do you speak well?
Right.
And
Well,
which are the ones which are on the edge?
on the edge? Yeah. That's a good question, Matthew. I would say I speak English decently.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you. We could be doing this podcast in Spanish, but that might cut out a lot of our listeners.
Okay.
So Spanish, I'd
Yes.
say I'm pretty much fluent. It feels a little rusty, but I would say fluent. And then German as well. And that's thanks to my mom. My mom is German, and she spoke German with us growing up. And so in our home, I just grew up hearing and speaking German. And so super thankful for that. So yeah.
And the German speakers that I know
Yeah.
have said you speak an amazing German.
Oh, thank you. That is thanks to my mom and her very clear pronunciation and diction. So
Okay.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And then what are the languages that you're just toying around with?
Yeah, just on the
Some French?
edge. I took some French, so I know a little bit of French. I could
Okay.
like read, figure out French.
Okay.
And as a kid, like I learned a little bit of Swahili in Tanzania. That's the
Yeah.
national language, but I definitely don't speak it. I just know a few phrases.
Okay.
And then I took Greek at Regent, but to be honest, that's gotten pretty rusty too. So
Yeah. Thanks for telling us a little bit about your upbringing. So then you went to Calvin College, and
Yeah.
then how did you end up in Canada?
Yeah, so I kind of meandered for a while, I guess I could put it that way, and tried out different stuff. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, which I think describes a lot of young people, maybe. At least it described me in that age. So I tried my hand at different things. I taught high school for a little bit, worked in after-school programs, worked for a homeless shelter, a nonprofit, volunteered in Peru with kids living on the streets, and then also volunteered in Chile at a Bible school. And that experience there in Chile at the Bible school there is kind of what sparked my interest in thinking about studying theology more. I really enjoyed teaching adults, and I was like, I want to be teaching them Bible and theology, not just English as a second language. And so that got me on a journey to eventually coming to Canada, to Regent College. A good friend of mine had gone there before and recommended it, and so I was like, okay. I literally moved up to Vancouver without ever having been to Regent or to Vancouver before to visit, and just showed up. Didn't even have a place to live, which was kind of crazy.
What?
Yeah, just
I didn't know that. Did you drive?
I drove up. Yeah, I drove
Okay.
up, and found a place very quickly, thankfully. I didn't have to camp out in Pacific Spirit Park, so that was good. I went to Regent College, was there for 3 years, and
And you showed up at Regent when?
2010, so
2010.
So
Yeah.
15 years ago now that I moved to Canada. And initially thought I was coming just for a degree and maybe going on to further studies to go teach in a university.
Yeah.
But it was actually like after I'd graduated that Lillian and I were introduced and started dating, and felt like more and more called to her and a relationship with her, and that.
And you were actually introduced by our friends Darren
That's
and
true.
Diane.
True shout out to Darren and Diane.
Yes.
They were the ones who connected us, but yes,
Okay.
they know you as they knew you as well, of course. So so we were set up on a blind date. But through the process of getting to know Lillian.
And so sorry, was your first date my brother's punk show?
No, that was not our first date, but good
Okay.
memory there. No, our first date was just a picnic at Jericho Beach.
Right.
But
Where you
then-
jumped in the ocean.
Probably, yes. That sounds like me. That sounds like something I would do. No, later that fall, though, your brother was playing at the Electric Owl in Vancouver, and Lillian
Yes.
and I went. So that was
Okay.
very random.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
I got to meet your brother, and you weren't even there.
Yeah.
I don't know what
wasn't
you were
there.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I stayed in Canada because of Lillian, and then also just felt more and more drawn to pastoral ministry.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up at North Langley as well. Was there was an internship opportunity, and so I was like, somewhat naively thinking, I'll do a year of internship. That will prepare me to be able to teach pastors later in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I came as an intern, worked with Pastor Tim in adult ministry, and yeah, that's how I started at North Langley 10
Now
years ago.
you started at North Langley. You started as an intern.
Yes.
But then what was your official first job?
Yeah, so my next job after that is kind of crazy, was a custodian here at the church.
You were a church custodian.
I was a church custodian, that's right.
So
I got to
good.
know the building really well, every
Yes.
nook and cranny. It was also during our reconstruction renovation phase here at the Walnut Grove campus. And so a lot of it was just like vacuuming up dust, construction
Yes.
dust. It was pretty exciting, yeah.
So good.
So I got to do that for a year.
Yeah.
And then there was an opening for a young adults position as well as a care pastor position, and kind
Yeah.
of those two things together. And so got to apply for that and step into that
Yeah. So
role.
talk a little bit about that. Like, what has been your experience in this particular role, doing young adults care? What are some of the highlights or things that you've enjoyed about this?
For sure. It's funny. It's a job. It really feels like two different jobs or two different roles. It is, but I love both sides. I love both elements of it. I love working with young people, young adults who are thinking through their faith and like kind of in that stage of like wrestling with faith and getting to shape part of their journey. That's been really fun. So I love that piece of it. And then I also love the care part because I love connecting with people one-on-one and kind of having pastoral conversations with people. And then the care ministry side is also just encouraging a lot of our volunteers who serve in some awesome ministries at our church and just supporting them and encouraging them. And it's been really cool to see that too, like to see that just kind of working behind the scenes for people, supporting them. Yeah, we've got some really awesome volunteers at North Langley.
Yeah.
Awesome ministry leaders and directors, and so super thankful to just support them.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting when this job came together, this position, and we were thinking, okay, who has a heart for care, but also loves to teach young adults, but also has like a multi-generational heart and can care for our seniors of our community. And it's interesting that like that's totally you. Like it's a unique role that has your heart all over it.
Yeah.
And so it's been really cool to have you in that role for a long time.
Yeah, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, and with that,
Yeah.
with the care piece in the last couple of years has been the seniors and working with the seniors.
Yes.
And that's been super fun as well. Like I've really enjoyed that, working with the seniors. They love playing games more than I thought.
Oh,
they
really?
would. Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
good.
There was a short season where the young adults were saying, Ben, we don't want to do games anymore. It feels like too much like youth. And the seniors were saying, Ben, we need more games. We want to have more fun. So yeah,
That's so
the
good.
Seniors are great. They love to have fun.
It. We have the best seniors.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ben, now you've been doing this role, but like, when you heard that we were moving to potentially plant a fourth campus, to merge with Jericho Ridge,
Yeah.
It was actually later on in the journey where we first had our first conversation. So, what was it that like over time started to kind of, what was God saying? What were the conversations you were having with Lillian?
Yeah.
How did you get to a point where you wanted to kind of
Yeah.
be open to this
Yeah.
potential possibility?
Yeah, it's a good question, Matthew. Like it is funny because for years I probably would have said I'm not ready for this. I'm not interested in kind of a church planting role. It just felt like it didn't necessarily fit me. And it's really just been in the last little while where I felt more open to that. And I think part of it is stage of life for our family. Like our kids were just really young, and so just wanting to kind of guard our time a little bit more.
Totally.
And as they're growing up, it was actually Lillian who said, "Hey Ben, you should think about this." I was like, "Oh, okay." So if Lillian is okay with this and on board with this, then I can start thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I think like some of the things that's just started to come together for me in that were I've always enjoyed preaching, and I get to teach with young adults and with seniors, but not tons of opportunities for preaching. And so I've wanted to be in a place where I can just be in God's word more and preach more. I felt like being a campus pastor would allow for that. Just the thought of maybe being in a smaller kind of a setting, a smaller campus than our Walnut Grove campus as well, and just getting to know the people that are in that congregation, caring for them, like everyone from kids to seniors kind of thing, like being part of their life. That's been a draw for me. And yeah, just the opportunity to kind of start something new. I know with Jericho, there is something existing there, and we want to build on the really amazing things that are there already. So it's not starting from scratch. It's starting with a really great foundation.
Yeah.
But in terms of a new campus of North Langley, it's part of shaping the vision of something new, and that's exciting to be kind of in that place. And then the missional piece of like being in a neighborhood, having a church presence there, and working for God's kingdom in like a new part of Langley's.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that like were just swirling around in my head, and as I was thought about the opportunity.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We first had our first conversation Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, yeah. A weird conversation to have on Christmas Eve, but it was good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had it.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And well, we've been praying, in my own life, I've just been reminded of that little verse that many of us memorized when we were young. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and all your ways acknowledge him. He'll make your paths straight. And just trusting that God was going to bring someone, a name of somebody who loved him, who wanted to be on mission, who had a passion and a desire for this. And so it's just been really cool through these conversations to be able to bring your name forward to the church. Yeah. And Ben, what is it about? Is there anything unique when you think about the future, the vision for what ministry could look like at this campus?
Yeah.
What are there any kind of particularities or some things that you're kind of zoning in on I'd love to see some things happen at this campus.
Yeah. The great thing is like this being our fourth campus, and I think we're finding already with our other campuses that each one has its kind of unique vibe, partly depending on where it is. And so I'm excited about in that location, right? Close to the Willowbrook Mall, at the edge of Clayton Heights, in that spot. I'm excited for it to take on its own kind of unique identity. And I think part of that will be hopefully a multicultural identity. That neighborhood and Langley as a whole is just growing and becoming more multicultural. And so having people from all kinds of countries and backgrounds be part of our church, I think just to reflect the diversity of the body of Christ, as well as just the diversity of the kingdom of God, and be able to reflect that there. It's a growing community, with the SkyTrain coming in, and the developments that are happening in that area generally. It's a place that needs the gospel. Like there's so many people coming there, and there are good churches in Langley already, so I don't want to take away from that, but like I think there's just going to be a need for more churches, for the presence of Christ there, and to meet people who are new to the Langley, new to Canada. There's lots of immigrants as well that live kind of in the Langley city area, who are coming from all over the world really. So I see like a missional opportunity to reach them, to connect with them, to welcome them into fellowship in our church and a relationship with Jesus.
Absolutely.
So, those are some of the pieces I'm excited about at that location. Yeah.
Well, that reflects your heart. I mean, I think just your multicultural upbringing and love for all the nations, and also love for the poor. Like you're mentioning immigrants who are coming, and you have a lot of experience working with the poor, and your heart for the poor, your caring heart. And so the more we've chatted, the more I've seen, what a beautiful way in which God has wired you, but also this particular campus, and maybe the unique needs at this campus.
Well, it's exciting to think even like Jericho, I think, has an existing partnership with Raphael House, which is kind of, again, a little bit more downtown Langley, but a connection there. And Raphael House is doing amazing things, caring especially for immigrants, but just anyone in Langley who needs a little extra help with food, but also spiritual care. And we've partnered with them last year to kind of help run Alpha there, which is really fun. So I see just great opportunities to keep building on those partnerships that Jericho has started, and maybe finding new ones as well. Amazing. Where we can meet people's needs in practical ways as well as kind of spiritual needs. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Ben, thanks for sharing those things. Just in terms of getting to know you a bit more, I want to end with a couple fun questions.
Okay, here we go.
So first of all, a perfect day off. A perfect day off for Ben. What would Ben do?
Yeah. Ben by himself, without his family, perfect day Ben would go on a really long hike, and spend the whole day hiking. I'd be happy to do that by myself. I'd be happy with friends as well, but I don't mind just being on my own for a day, out in the mountains,
Listening to really loud music in your ear.
Definitely not. No, the
Okay.
more silence, the better.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. As
You
the
heard it
less-
here first.
yes.
The more silence, the better,
That's
everybody.
right. Yeah, I
That's
want to hear the
Ben's vibe.
birds, Matthew. I want to hear the birds.
He wants
not-
to. Ben knows a lot about birds. That's a very unique thing.
I don't actually know a lot about birds, Matthew.
You do.
You should not oversell this. I like birds. I like watching birds.
Yes.
It's why I get distracted even in our meetings sometimes, where we'll be walking or sitting, and I'll be like, oh, there's a bird over there. And
If you're ever
point it
talking to
out.
Ben and you find that he's not looking at you, he's probably looking at a bird.
There's probably a bird around. Yeah,
Yes.
it's true. So
Okay.
yeah, if it was a day by myself, it'd be hiking. If it's a day with my family, probably going to the pool or something like that. Actually the lake would be even better. Just hanging out with them, playing in the water. That would be kind of an ideal Ben day with the family.
An
Yeah.
ideal Ben day. I love it. And then favorite food.
That is a hard one, Matthew. Favorite food. There's so many foods I like. We have a shared love of Mexican food, though I
Yes.
feel like your love exceeds mine when
No.
it comes to Mexican food. I'm from New Mexico.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that's unique to New Mexico is green chili. So I
Yes.
love green chili. And in New Mexico, green chili goes with almost anything. But Lillian actually makes really good green chili enchiladas, which
Very good.
I love. So
Yes.
those are pretty high up there. If I'm thinking of my German heritage, though, pretzels. I do like a really good pretzel. And
Pretzel?
Yeah, pretzel.
Oh.
Not the little like dinky things that you get in a bag, like a real baked pretzel, and not Annie's either. Like that's the thing; it's hard to get a good pretzel here, Matthew. You got to go to Germany.
You
gotta
lost
go
me.
to
You lost me at pretzel.
no, you got to go to Bavaria.
I was
gotta-
with you on green chilies,
Okay.
but okay.
You got to go to Bavaria. You got to
Okay.
get the real pretzel from the bakery,
Okay.
and then get it with Weisswürste,
Okay. What
white
is that?
sausages. It's a white sausage. You might think that's weird, but
That
it's actually
sounds
really
disgusting.
tasty.
Okay.
It's really tasty.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go someday, Matthew.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go. Okay. Well, good. Well, Ben, thanks for sitting down and chatting.
Yeah, for
and
sure. Thanks,
on
Matthew.
March 9th, we as a congregation are getting together to discern, the way forward, to make some pretty big decisions as a church family. And so we just really wanted the church to be able to get to know you before they had a chance to vote.
Totally.
And so let's all be praying and let's continue to seek the Lord. And but I am excited about the future.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you've put your name forward, and we have exciting days to come.
Yeah, thanks, Matthew. I'm excited for the next steps, and like you were saying, like just trusting God that He's been in this for not just for me and my journey and Lillian's journey, but also for our whole church, right? Like we've been
Yes.
dreaming about a fourth campus, and this kind of came from Jericho initiating this conversation, and so just cool to see all the different things that have lined up for this to happen, and just trusting that God is in it, right?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
just continuing to trust that even as we have a congregational meeting about it. Yeah.
Ben Frederiksen with a K.
With
No
a
C.
K, S-E-N. You got it.
Over and out. All right.
Okay.
Good.
Under 25 minutes.
Hey!
All right.
Woo!
I don't know what we were going for, but okay. Yay!
That's great.
Baby, you get